Tēnā tātou katoa, ko Unicia Veer tōku ingoa. Ko Papamo tōku whenua kura, ko Mau te Monga, ko Tōranga te Moana no Otatāhi ahau. Kia ora and welcome to the Sorted Money Month webinar. My name is Unicia and I'm your kai whakahaere, your facilitator for today. And it's a real pleasure to have you guys here with us. So just a quick look about who we are, who's bringing you this webinar this afternoon. We have Te Araohunga Ora, the Retirement Commission. We also have Sorted, who you will get to see all their resources today as we just highlight a few of the key tools that we have that you can use. And then there's myself as well. So I am a chartered accountant, I'm an ex-auditor, I'm an ex-financial mentor, and I've been working as a Sorted facilitator for nearly a decade now. It's been quite a while. But recently I decided to switch things up a little bit and had a bit of a career change and moved into financial advice. So working in investing and retirement planning. The Retirement Commission is awesome. They provide, so that Te Araohunga Ora, their aim is to empower the people of Aotearoa on their journeys to a better retirement by helping them understand money. And they do this through their vehicle called Sorted, which is probably what's brought you here today. You probably logged on to Sorted, saw these webinars and thought, let's join in. So Sorted provides free, independent and impartial information around all things money matters, and it's run by Te Araohunga Ora. So the important thing to know about these webinars is that we can't give any specific financial advice, but what we will do is give you some great resources that you can use to make more informed financial decisions. So please take notes as you go along and ask questions. I do have my chat open up on my second screen, so I will do my best to keep an eye on the chat that's going on there. But if I miss anything, I actually have a team working from Sorted who are keeping an eye on the chat there as well. So they'll highlight anything that's really, really important to me. So please do use that chat. It's there for that purpose. And yeah, it's really exciting to see how many people are joining us today. So this is the first webinar of a series of 4. We're doing 4 lunchtimes, 4 Wednesdays. Technically, this is my study day, so I'm studying and I'm doing these at the same time, and it's really fun. So we've got 4 really great topics planned, and this is the first one. We'll be covering lots of tips and tools and ways to achieve your goals. So you can pick and choose, you can sign up for all 4 of them, or you can also tap into the other things that have been offered through our Money Month partners around the country. There are some live face-to-face events if you want to go do some of those as well. Go have coffee with somebody. They're pretty awesome. So before we go any further, let's set the scene with our karakia. We use this as a way of bringing us together to focus both on the session that we've got ahead of us and for our own personal financial journeys. We've got the translation there in front of you as well if you'd like to follow along. Toe e runga, toe e raro, toe e roto, toe e waho, toe ki te Araohunga Ora, kia whaihua, kia ora. Homie, hui, tai gie. So let's pause, let's take a breath and let's get sorted. And let's have a look at what we're doing today. Today we've got 3 key areas that we're looking at. We're starting off by looking at why saving is essential to your well-being. And we'll have a look at some barriers that get in the way of us saving and some good tips to get around those as well. And then we'll look at how to set up your financial system for success, breaking that down into looking at your money personalities and how that fits with your savings. We'll give you some systems that you can consider. We'll look at goal setting, tracking your budget, tracking your spending and budgeting as well, and essentially making the most of your money. How these sessions will work is we will share with you some of the key ideas, why saving is fundamental for your well-being, and how you can start or extend your current habits to take that even further. There'll be plenty of opportunities for you to share your thoughts on savings, any tips that have worked for you that you would like to share with other people, or any questions you've got as well. So that's what the chat is there for you to use. But most importantly, this information, the tools, the tips, and the tricks will be accessible on the Sorted website that you can go back and have a look at later on as well. When times are tough, we can get very preoccupied with our money worries. We're more likely to be impulsive, we can give into temptations, and that can really muddle our thinking and get us even deeper and deeper into that murkiness that is the money mystery that goes on. And that is why saving is essential to our well-being. One study showed that the increased money concerns can cause us to have a drop in our intelligence by around 13 or 14 IQ points. And that lowers our ability to think clearly. It's actually even worse than if we had a bad night's sleep. So just having those money worries can really affect our intelligence. Apparently, people under financial stress have that diminished ability because of the tight circumstances. We've got some recent research that has come out of Sorted or come out of Te Arohanga Order, and they say that 55% of New Zealanders are feeling financially uncomfortable. 23% of us are losing sleep over our finances. 32% are worried about money and the debt that they're in particular. And 10% of us are distracted by money at work. That might be you. I know for me, sometimes I can find some of these things. I can definitely get distracted about money at work, and that's not just because of my job, but things can get distracting and get in our way. Take that stress and that feeling of scarcity away, however, and our headspace suddenly becomes really freed up, and we have that mental bandwidth to think clearly once again. I agree, those stats look really high. And that can be concerning, which is why the likes of Money Month can be very, very important, just to give us that space to think and pause and consider our own financial situation. So let's launch a poll. First poll of the day. Money worries, do they have a significant impact on your financial well-being? So hopefully that poll is going to pop up for us very soon. Here we go. So money worries. Money worries have a significant impact on my financial well-being. Very quickly, we've got never, sometimes, often, and always. All being nice and quick in there. Oh, look, I get to see there's actually 195 people on the call at the moment. Well, let's end that. Well, yep, I think we can pretty much end that poll and we can share the results. So there we go. We can see that basically nobody said never. Sometimes, often, and always. So money worries definitely have that impact on our well-being. Pop into the chat there. Let's have a think. In what ways do money worries show up in our health in particular? How does it show up for you? Because we're all saying it does sometimes, often, or always. We can get irritable, agreed, and stressed. We can get quite anxious. Anyone get involved with stress eating? Yeah, impact on sleep for sure. Waking up at the night worrying, can't get to class, can't go to work. Sometimes the not being able to focus can go the other way as well. We can be less motivated to go somewhere. So unfocused, unmotivated, but overthinking. There was a yes to the stress eating that came in there as well. Getting distracted. Yep. It definitely shows up in our health. Maybe we overeat, maybe we undereat. Now, even just in preparing for these webinars, it was interesting to think about how I was handling my food. I had to remind myself to stop and eat because I get distracted and I forget to do things like that. Replacing food with paying for bills, that can be a reality as well. Isolating ourselves, maybe because we don't want to share our money worries, we isolate ourselves, and that does affect our relationships as well. So there are many reasons why we need to be talking about our finances, because it does affect our well-being. So let's take this point and flip it. If our money concerns increase our burden, then taking charge of our money, in this case saving, can really help us out. Wherever we're at financially, savings is the key to it all. To sort out your money, none of it is really possible unless you have some savings or some money coming in of some sort. So having a steady savings habit can help you to build an emergency fund. It can help us to invest in KiwiSaver. It can help us to pay down debt, pay for insurance, and maybe even eventually buy our home as well. So savings is key to it all. So how do we even start? We're all going to be at different stages of our savings journey, of our financial journey. Whether you're trying to get moving or you're trying to amp things up a little, the information that we're talking about today will help you to examine your own situation and identify actions that can help you get to where you want to be. So let's try the little emoticons that we've got here. Hands up if you feel like you've been here before. You've started this process before, but maybe it hasn't gone to plan. Have we got anyone got a hands up for me? Yeah. Even just thinking about New Year's resolutions, what are we? We're in August now. How are they going? We can have the best intentions, but things get in our way. Barriers get in our way. So how can we overcome some of these barriers? If we know they exist, we can plan for them. So let's have a go through. Let's see what we've got here. So hop into the chat. What are some barriers that you have faced towards saving for or reaching your money goals? So what gets in your way? We've obviously covered up some things like lack of sleep, but what are some barriers that get in the way for you achieving your goals? Inconsistent income, bills, high expenses, being a natural spender. There we go. Family responsibilities, children. Didn't take long for that one to pop into the chat there. Lack of self-discipline can get in the way. General expenditure. I was going to say genuine, but that too. Groceries are so expensive. They absolutely are. It's very disheartening, isn't it, to do the groceries and then see how much less you're able to buy with the same amount of money. The conflict of saving, but also YOLO. Yep, for sure. Rising costs, insurance just doesn't stretch far enough. I saw somebody mention something about different personality with your husband when it comes to finance as well. When we get behind, it can also be hard to catch up as well. So lots and lots of different common barriers in there. Let's break down a few of these common ones and think about how we can overcome them. So emergency costs, that can be a real barrier that can cancel out any savings that we make and any progress that we make fast. So at Sorted, we talk about having an emergency fund of as little as $1,000 as soon as you can. $1,000 might sound like a lot. I'd even say break it down to 500. That 500 could save the day. And then build up an emergency fund of around 3 months worth of your spending when you can. Now that one, if you look at how much that is, that might sound like a lot. Make it a goal. Make it something that you're going to try and achieve in the next 12 months or 2 years if you need to, but work on it. Having that buffer can make a huge difference to your resilience and your mental well-being, not just your financial well-being.
Plan to build and maintain your first layer of protection. You might blow a tire, need an emergency visit to the doctor or a funeral. It's really hard to plan for the unknown. What we don't know is what it will be, but what we do know is that there's always something. Your safety net is yours, not the bank's. There's no paperwork or appointments. It's there for those emergencies not accounted for in your weekly budget. So get it done.
I was eager to get that slide on so you could hear Anna's comments there. I love what Anna said. Get it done. An emergency fund is your money. It's your money that you've got set aside. You don't have to ask for it. You don't have any paperwork to fill out. You can just get into it when you need it. What is an emergency? You've got 2 questions you can ask yourself. First of all, is it urgent and is it necessary? So we had our hot water cylinder break maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. And that was an emergency. It was urgent. We needed that hot water cylinder fixed. And fortunately, we had the money set aside for it. Now, you might say, well, wasn't that an insurance job? Unfortunately not. The drying of the carpet was insurance. The replacement of the items that were damaged was insurance, but not the hot water cylinder itself. That was repair and maintenance. So that was something we needed to have set aside, and we did. An emergency funds, that means that you have that immediate access to help when you need it. You don't have to wait. You've got it done. So on Sorted, we have the tools that you can use to work out what your emergency fund might look like and just to help you work out how to get there as well. So you can use Sorted to have a look at those tools there. Another popular barrier is breaking habits is hard. And the reality is we like what we spend our money on. Let's be honest. I like my coffee. I really do. And if I have to give up my coffee in order to save extra money, then it's going to be a really big thought process that goes with that. So we actually, we took that to the next level. Now we roast our own beans at home, and I can enjoy a really good coffee on a Saturday morning and a Sunday morning, which means that when I go to a cafe, I'm probably a little bit more judgmental about the type of coffee I'm having. It has to be really good for me to want to part with my money. But those are just the things that I've done to try and break a habit that might have been costing me, well, I was going to say $5 a day, but actually I think coffees are more like $6 or $7 a day at the moment. So $7 a day can really build up over that work week. So what we can do is we can allow ourselves flexibility in our plan to continue with those things that bring us joy, but maybe at a reduced or a more manageable rate, depending on what our goals are. And we'll talk about that a little bit more soon. But I would also challenge you to look at the things that you don't like spending your money on, because it's much easier to stop spending that before you start cutting down on your coffee, for example. Is there a subscription that you're no longer using but paying for? Have you checked your power company recently? Powerswitch.org.nz. There's a great website to go and have a look at and just see if you can save yourself a few $100s. A few $100s might not sound like much, but when you give it a job, like say that's as part of our Christmas fund, suddenly it has a really good purpose. Big costs from big life events. This can be a really significant barrier, and I saw this come up a lot in the chat there. A funeral might be a really valid reason to dip into your emergency fund. But things like a wedding or a 21st, a party, these are things that can be planned for ahead of time. Potentially even things like car repairs and house maintenance, that could also be planned for. Even just setting aside a small amount regularly means that you can get your car serviced or you can get those new tyres. As part of being an owner of a car, as part of being an owner of a house. But there are some things that we can't plan for, and that's where that emergency fund can really become important. Close to half of us would rather talk about sex, drugs, or politics than the dreaded M word, money. Literally anything else except the money is what we'd like to talk about. These conversations are some of the most important ones that we can have. Not wanting to talk about money can be a real barrier to getting our whānau on board with our goals, but also our friends as well, because when our friends understand what we're trying to achieve, they can support the lifestyle changes we're trying to make. If you share with your friends that you're trying to save for a car, then maybe they'll understand when you say, hey, let's party at home this weekend instead of going out to the bars or whatever it might be, because they'll support your goals. So just talking about it means that you're not having to deal with it on your own and you can share that load. They can encourage you. Your family can encourage you. It's not always easy, but Money Month is that fantastic time to start the conversation. Even just flicking this webinar off to somebody else in your family or your friends and say, hey, listen to this and talk about it afterwards. It's a great springboard for that conversation. There are lots of other things going on during Money Month as well. Plenty of our partners are out there doing amazing things, getting people talking about money. And the Good Shepherd is also another resource you can go to. They have a little deck of cards called Money Conversations, which is a useful tool that you can use. So you can get cheesy about it or you can get really casual. It's entirely up to you. So how do we get started? First of all, it's about understanding that there are barriers and knowing which barriers are applicable to you. When you can identify those barriers, you can start to work out what solutions are going to work for you as well. And then pick and choose. So now that we understand our barriers and we have some tools to get us going, let's start thinking about our systems. It was the Good Shepherd is the place where you can go to find those cards, by the way. Yeah. So let's have a think about our systems. So when we talk about money systems, what systems have you used in the past, or maybe you're using them currently to help manage your money? Hop into the chat and just share some ideas. What do you consider to be your money system? Do you think you have one for a start? Hop into the chat. Yeah. Using different bank accounts, so 30-day, 60-day, 90-day bank accounts. Using the Sorted, shout out to Sorted's budget, fantastic. Budgeting using Excel, I love Excel spreadsheets. Do people still use functions and everything? I do love all that sort of stuff. Having a solid budget. Few people using Pocketsmith. Do people still use You Need a Budget? That's another option as well. Using rough maths. I said before I'm an ex-auditor, which essentially means that when I do maths, I round everything because for auditors, materiality is key, right? So I round up for everything when it comes to my maths, so I get where you're coming from. Using the banking apps. There are lots of different apps out there as well. Some more resources. Hope you guys are watching the chat as well so you can see where else you can go. using apps on your phone. I have gone through so many different apps trying to find the one that I like because I'm picky, and that's okay. I'm allowed to be picky. But I think I've found an app I'm enjoying at the moment. I'm not going to tell you what it is because you need to find out what one would work for you. There's heaps of apps available on your Play Store. So there are so many different ways. People using the likes of a wall planner or a calendar. Is anybody using their memory? Because sometimes we try and keep track of things just in our mind. That never really works very well. So writing things down can be very helpful. Automatic payments are also good as well. Or the good old envelope system. That's a fantastic system that we can use that breaks it down to old-fashioned envelopes, very much like our banking system as well. As you can see from the chat, there are so many different approaches that are out there, and they can all work for us depending on what we need. So because there are so many different approaches, it means that before we can start thinking about setting up our system, we need to pause and consider our personality and what it is that we're trying to achieve. We each have our own unique money personality, and that is a really important step to take to understand before setting your goals and setting up a system that's required. Has anybody had a go at the money personality on the Sorted website? Hands up if you have. I love playing around with these sorts of things. So on the Sorted website, there is a really simple little tool that you can use. So you can see it just flicking through here on the screen. And you can do this with your family, do this with your whānau. It's a great way of understanding why we behave differently about finances. You know, even though we live in the same house, we have different ways of dealing with money. And it might help us to understand where we're at. There's about 17 different questions there. Depending on what your response is, it comes up with a description of what your money personality trait is like, some common traits, and then some steps that you can use to then grow and use your money personality to your advantage. I would say it's always an advantage to know what sort of money personality you have and to use those traits wisely. I don't think anything is particularly a bad trait, personally. I think they're just ways that we can use and grow. So those resources are very, very useful there for you to have a look at. I can see a few other people popping into the chat and saying what sort of personality they came out as. So yeah, have a look at that. So far we've covered looking at the barriers that might get in our way and some solutions that we can use to overcome those barriers, and our money personality as well. So now we're ready to start looking at our system, and there are 5 key steps for us to look at. And much like with life, these are not a linear series. So we've got them numbered 1 to 5, but they can be any order for you. It's important to consider these things when thinking about saving or extending your savings habit. But for the sake of simplicity, let's start with step 1. So step 1 is setting your goals. Can we all recall SMART goals from our various studies? It's nice and simple, SMART goals, and are there for a reason. We've added on a couple of extra letters there, you might notice. We've got an E and an R. So let's have a think of a SMART goal. So let's say I want to go on holiday. That's not specific. So I want to go on holiday to Fiji. Yeah. I want to spend $10,000 on my holiday to Fiji. That's measurable, but is it attainable? Probably not. Let's peel this back. Maybe I want to spend $3,000 on my holiday to Fiji. Is it relevant? Absolutely. When is a holiday not relevant? Is it time bound? I want to go on this holiday to Fiji in February next year. Is it enjoyable? Well, I'm going to enjoy my time in Fiji. I'm probably going to have to sacrifice something in order to get there. But we will need to make sure that but I want to get to this holiday, so I'll do those sacrifices and recorded. So that's writing things down. So if I want to go on holiday to Fiji, maybe I'll set my screensaver to have a picture of Fiji, you know, or maybe I'll put up a poster behind my toilet door, or I'll change the screensaver on my computer. There's something to make sure that your holiday or your goal is regularly being there in front of you, basically. It's called saliency. So we want to be reminded regularly of our goal. So write it down. Obviously, Sorted has a fantastic tool that we can use as well. We've got our goal planner. So the goal planner can help you to identify goals and set up your actions that are needed to complete them. You can flick things around a little bit as well. You can monitor the progress of that goal, and you can adjust your expectations as well. And even better, you can share these goals with others. So there's that ability to share your goals from the Sorted Goal Planner website as well. So very cool. I love seeing this. We can see some real life goals in action, but we won't watch the whole clip here. I'd encourage you instead to have a go and play around with that yourself. Step number 2 is tracking our spending or tracking our money. Tracking spending is important as it shows you where your money is really going. You'll be able to spot the spending leaks in the places where you may not be wanting your money to flow. There might be some big surprises along the way. There might be some things that you had an inkling of, and tracking your spending is a way of verifying that really, and just checking were you on track. You can then use this information to help you to create and review your spending plan, otherwise known as your budget. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the word budget, but apparently this is the word that people like to use when they Google, and they'll search for the word budget. But for me, a spending plan is really key because it's how you're planning your spending, right down to the last dollar. You work hard for your money, so make your money work hard for you by planning where you want it to go and being deliberate about that. So that's why I like the word spending plan more than budget, but for simplicity, let's keep it as a budget. So we track our spending and we make note of every single purchase we make in our household, every time we swipe the card, every time we use cash. It is the best way to get an accurate picture of your spending habits. If you can do this for 3 months, then you'll get a really good picture of not just the small costs, but some of the big things that might come up as well. You might start hitting things like your rates repayments or your insurance repayments or any major repairs that might come up. So it gives you a really good picture. Here are some different examples of ways that you can track your spending. So obviously people have been talking about different apps that they use. There are a few shout outs there on the chat. But I encourage you to have a look at yourself. And before you go and purchase any subscription, check that it's actually doing what you want it to do, because there are free apps out there as well. Spreadsheets, plenty of spreadsheets out there. Again, do a quick Google. Before you download anything, run a virus check. You don't need any of that jazz on your computer. Or just using a good old spending diary. You can use your notes on your phone. You can use a physical diary if you like. Alternatively, you can grab 3 months worth of bank statements, a stack of highlighters, and highlight where your money is going. By doing this, what you're looking at is what's already happened. It's unaffected by what you're hearing about today, and you can't cheat. It's right there on paper. And so you can use that, right? So you can even get your family involved. And it can be a very confronting task, but we don't need to be ostriches about it. Once we know what we've got, we can then decide what it is we're going to do with that information. When you know where you're spending and you know what your goals are, you can then use those numbers to make a plan. Making that plan is making a budget, making a spending plan. And there are 2 ways you can do this. And I would encourage you to take that information you got from your tracking and put that into your spending plan first, unadjusted, just do it. And if it ends up that you're overspending, that's when you can start to pull things back and think about your priorities, what it is you're trying to do. Many times we try and save after taking care of our bills and our essentials and our non-essentials, and even those unexpected things that pop up. And sometimes there's nothing left to put away for savings. But if you've got a savings goal and those things are important to you, then put them in first. So put that in first alongside your other spending, your bills and your essentials and everything else. By making a budget or a spending plan, you can put those goals in together. That way you are able to manage both sides at the same time. Because there's no point having a goal if you've got no plan on how you're going to get there. And it's a goal because it's important to you. If it's important, it needs to be in your plan. The Sorted tool is very flexible. It's really easy to use, and you can personalize it as well. So you can put in your own pictures if you like. So where it's got a picture of the petrol there, you can put your own car if it's important to you. Put that in there. Have fun with this plan. It is for you to use, and again, you can share that with your family as well. You can have as many versions of this budget as you like as well. So you might have today's budget, and then you might try to change it a little bit later on. So from your budget, that's fantastic. It looks like a really pretty piece of paper, but it's not very helpful if you don't have a system that supports it. So setting up a system is really key for making that hard work that you've just done with that budget work. What you've got on the screen there is a really simple way of separating out your bank accounts. So 3 essential bank accounts. These are your bills, your savings, and your day-to-day expenses. Your spending plan can be lined up the same way. So you can look at it and go, okay, what's a bill? Well, a bill is something that usually I get an email for to tell me how much I pay. So that's my rates, that's my electricity, that's my Spotify, whatever it might be. Those are bills. We know how much we're going to pay. Our day-to-day spending, those are the things that you swipe regularly. Food, our petrol, a bit of entertainment, whatever it might be, parking. And our savings are our goals. So they can be our specific goals, like a holiday, or it could also be things like saving for health, saving for doctors, saving for clothing as well. So savings are things that you know you're going to spend, but you may not have an exact amount to put aside. But once you work out your spending plan, you'll get a picture of what those numbers are. And then we set up automatic payments on payday. Perfect time to set up an automatic payment, maybe the day after, just in case things go a little bit awry. And then it filters off into these 3 different accounts here for you. If you have a credit card, the trick, or another way of spending, then the trick is to then, once you've spent that on your card, you then go onto your bank and you transfer from the appropriate account back into your credit card. So for example, if I bought some plane tickets, I might go into my holiday fund and transfer that out of my holiday fund onto my credit card. So I'm getting the points from the credit card, but I'm also not getting charged interest. So I've paid it off nice and in time. So it's actually a great way of keeping track of what you're spending it is as well. So I'm not sure about you, but sometimes I'll look at my credit card and go, what on earth did I buy from the warehouse this time? Probably makeup, who knows? But that tends to be our main thing there. So step number 5 is to make things automatic. So paying yourself first works well when it's a regular habit. There's no better way to make sure that savings can happen than by setting it up automatically. It takes less than 10 minutes to schedule an automatic payment on your online banking, so that every time your pay rolls in, every time that time frame rolls in, the automatic payment goes out. You don't have to think about it. It's also important to have your savings in a separate account as well. So that's why it was separate from your bills and your day-to-day, because that way it can grow and it can compound as well. Some people like to have those savings in a separate bank account, out of sight and out of mind. And maybe if you've got a bigger goal, that can be really helpful as well. But it's about understanding your money personality with that one. Step number 6 is to review and revise. It takes time for your money system to really get established. These automatic payments, they might be small, so it's going to take a few months for that account to start getting built up, especially if you don't have money to put in there to start off with. So give it time, trust the process, trust the mahi that you've already put in to get this far, and know that it will work. I would say from experience, probably takes about 3 months for you to start seeing that this money builds up. But if it's really not working, you don't have to keep going with it. Go back through those steps 1 to 5, review what one's not working for you, and try again. Remember that process is not linear. You're welcome to go back and have a look at it as you go. If it's really difficult, like if you're looking at it thinking this is not working, what am I missing? Then you can talk to a financial mentor and you can bounce ideas off together. So Money Talks is a great website you can go to hook into a free financial mentor, and they can find somebody around the country who can work with you as well. So there's about 180 different financial mentors still around the country that you can go and tap into there. Question in the chat that says, does savings to the emergency fund account, count as savings or a bill? It's savings, I would say, until you use it. No, that's just my opinion there anyway. Yeah. So what are some other things we can do to boost our savings? So as I said at this just before, those savings account might have very little money in to start off with. We might want to boost that a little bit. So how can we boost our savings? What can we do to get that just to get that seeding fund going. Just hop into the chat and share your ideas. I can see some coming through already. So using a high interest account, yep. So that will mean that you're able to let that money grow faster, if at all possible. Yeah, but you've got to have money in there first for it to grow. We might invest depending on what that goal is, for sure. That will depend on the time frame as well. So we'll be talking about investing in one of the future webinars that we do. So we've got selling some things on TradeMe. Yeah, selling things you no longer need. One person's rubbish is another person's treasure, so go for that. Marketplace is great as well. Using the save the change function on the bank. Yeah, so you can it'll round up and pop those cents into a different bank account for you. Having a side hustle? Absolutely. Some people might have a talent that they can earn a few extra dollars off, for sure. What else might there be? Selling clothes that you don't wear? Absolutely. We might be able to increase our income. Maybe we could get a few extra hours at work, or having that side hustle. Maybe it's time to talk to somebody about a pay increase that you're long overdue. Who knows? We'll be having that brave conversation. Definitely things worth having. We might trim back some spending for a short term and put that savings aside into your savings account to boost it up. We might look at our debt situation and maybe see if there's something we can do to reduce the interest that we're paying on that debt. Talking to a financial mentor can be really helpful for that as well. Funny, somebody mentioned in the chat about small challenges. So here are a few fun techniques I've seen over the past around just different yearly challenges you can give yourself. So the 52-week challenge. So that's having a board of 52 weeks and then having different numbers, so 1 to 52 on there, and each week you decide which number you're saving. So I would start with 52 because you start off with gusto, and then build it down to 1 when you get to around Christmas when things are a bit tight. Yeah, the $5 challenge, that can be really good. We used that for a fair few years. Every time we had $5 come our way, we would put that into a jar, and at Christmas we decided what we wanted to do with that. We decided to shout a bunch of people over for lunch, and that was a really fun way just to know that we had the money there and we didn't have to think about it. So we shared it with others. A spare coin jar, rounding up the cents, people have said there as well. Side hustles can help. Working together, having that community feel. Seeing people in the chat saying things like unsubscribing from things that you don't use, unsubscribing from emails as well, so you're not tempted to go and check things out. Shopping from the freezer and the pantry for a week. I believe that's what we're doing this week, because I'm determined to get through some of the things that we have cooked and frozen for the next week or so. But these are ways that we can boost our savings. Of course, the plan with that is what we would have spent on groceries, we then put into the savings side of things. So pays to keep in mind with interest, you're either paying for money that you're borrowing, or you're getting paid interest on your savings and investing. And that's when the interest really starts earning interest on its own. You're away, you're compounding. It's like a jet on a runway that really, it starts off flat, but then it takes off and it climbs upwards. We will be talking about investing in one of the webinars coming up. So if that's something you're really interested in, sign up for that webinar. There are some great free apps that we can use. If things like people talking about using the library. The library has an app. I think the library's got 2 apps as well for reading, but also they've got another app, Beamer Film, I think it's called, for movies as well. You don't even have to pay for it. So much, a Beamer Film, there we go. So we can use these things. So talk to your community, find out what's available for you. So just a reminder of setting up your system. These are 5 steps in no particular order. So we set our goals. So SMART goals are really useful. Tracking your spending, creating your budget, making it automatic, because honestly, we've got so much on our mind. If we can make things automatic, then it just frees up our bandwidth for other things. And then review and revise your progress. So make sure that you can check things in. Then it becomes just a regular habit. We check these every 3 months maybe. You find your own rhythm. So what have we looked at today? Well, we've looked at why savings is essential to your well-being. We've looked at how that load really affects us and what we can do. There are barriers that get in the way of us saving, and we've covered some tips to get around them as well. So now we're prepared. We've set up our system and we know how we can create a system that fits our money personality and our strengths so that we can have success with our financial journey. So it's nearly time to breathe again, right? So there are plenty of places we can go to for help. So there's lots of tools on Sorted. We have covered a few of them today. Definitely hop on there and have a look and see what works for you. Maybe make yourself a profile, go back, start it, save it, tweak it. Tutu, just do what you like. But also during Money Month, there is heaps out there. So on our social media, we've got lots of information around the Sorted Money Month, but our partners are just doing so much work out there. It's really worth tapping into and just seeing what they are doing. Lots of little short videos as well. So if you're keen on all that, and have a look. Just see a question here. What's the difference between a budget planner and the budget tool? There is no difference. The budget planner and the budget tool, I believe, are the same. Will take you to the same place. But if I'm wrong, one of the team will hop into the chat and just clarify that for me. So what about you? What are you going to do as a result of today's webinar? What's the one step you're going to do and have a think about? Hop into the chat and just share. I'm really keen to know what your one action is going to be. Someone's going really high and saying, pay off the credit card. Good job. Yeah. Maybe it's just a matter of hopping onto the next webinar and seeing what we're talking about. So next week, we're talking about supercharging our savings, optimizing investing in KiwiSaver and beyond. It sounds like it's going to be a fantastic webinar. I can't wait. I can see lots of people saying we're going to check out the resources. A few people are going to look at cheaper options for groceries, checking out the sort of website, linking in with their bank and seeing how they can save things as well. Just spend some time on your finances. You have done an amazing job just by being here for your lunchtime. We didn't quite end up with an hour, so that's fantastic. It means you've still got time to go for a quick walk around the block and stretch your legs before you get back into your work. It has been a real pleasure to do that, to have you here for this webinar today. Tēnā te mihi a te kia koutou Māori ora kia tātou. Hopefully, I will see you again next week, same time, same place. Yeah, have a fantastic week.